Sound check 1 2 3. Sound check 1 2 3.
Good afternoon, everyone, and members of the public and staff and colleagues. We started the meeting. Okay. First of all, I'm going to say that the quorum is here. I'm going to say Councillor Spadafora is here, Councillor Jackson, Councillor McMeekin, Councillor Councillor Francis, Councillor Wang, and Councillor Nan. And on screen is Councillor Kretsch, Councillor Kassar, Councillor Danko, Councillor A. Wilson, and Councillor Maureen Wilson. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the first of the year 2025 Public Works meeting, February 3rd, 2025. As we have quorum present today's meeting, I would like to call it in order. A reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. There are no ceremonial activities, so we're going to go to approval of the agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor McMeekin and Councillor Wang, thank you. Is there any discussions on the agenda? I don't see any. All in favor by show of hands, please. Okay, thank you. Declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest? I don't see any. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Taddeson, welcome. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, December 2nd, 2024. May I please have a mover and a seconder to adopt the previous minutes? Councillor Spadafora, Councillor Wang, thank you. Is there any discussions on the meetings? I don't see any. All in favor by showing your hands, please. Good exercise to do. Thank you, and it's carried. Delegation. Before we begin our delegation for today's members, I require that questions of the delegations are to be clarification purpose only and not for debate. A note to the delegates, you have 5 minutes to complete your delegation. You will hear a tone after 4 minutes, and then you will have additional minute to finish up. A note to committee, we will take 1 vote at the end to receive all the delegation. First one is Alex Sears, respecting HSR issue and garbage collection in person. Is present? Alex Sears? I will call it one more time, Alex Sears. We'll come back at the end of the delegation to see if you're here. Okay, 6.2, Aaron L. Davis, respecting the city's work to reinforce the stream bank and its connection to protecting our natural water heritage in person. Welcome, Aaron. And I was asked if you could have a couple of more minutes. If you go over, we'll have to take a vote to give you a few extra minutes. So. Why don't we vote now to give her extra? She thinks she'll be about a minute over. So we'll vote now. So Councillor Spadafora, Councillor Taddeson, let's take a vote to give a couple extra minutes, okay? Everybody vote? It's electronic vote. That's important. Okay, hands up. It's not working? Thumbs up from me. All right, thumbs.
Councillor Ann Wilson.
Okay, welcome, Aaron, and it carries, okay? Thank you. So you will hear 4 minutes, and then you'll know roughly. Okay, welcome.
Esther Pauls, and council members and community members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, but before I begin, I want to quickly note a miscommunication regarding the title. Last week, I had requested a change via email, but only noticed this morning the updated request wasn't made, so I appreciate your understanding. So without further ado, I'm going to continue. I'm an environmentalist and public engagement leader and a financial advisor. Why I'm here today is I've come in the spirit of cooperation. Many ratepayers have asked me to request an inquiry into the HCA's handling of Ancaster Wells. Since 2017, myself and many others have worked diligently to get HCA boards to restore our water access as per the legal conditions on title and the regulations under the Health and the Safe Drinking Water Act. Yet we've faced miscommunication, stonewalling, withholding key documents, and even a motion to silence the public. Despite our persistent efforts to engage, we have encountered obstacles at every step, while the CAO's reports to the board do not fully reflect the true state of affairs. We need guidance from council to help us get answers. We're not here to make waves, we just want clear waters. There's been a pattern of silence and obfuscation. Our efforts to cooperate over the years, we have worked in good faith reviewing all relevant documents, FOIA records from both HCA and the city, Conservation Act, the HCA governance policies, conservation governance, legislation on water, health regulations, and legal conditions on title, and the IPC commissions. I took it all the way up 4 levels. It took 2.5 years. What we're asking for, while legal avenues remain an option, our priority is a transparent public inquiry that actively involves...
I'm so sorry. There's a point of order by Councillor Wilson, and I'm wondering what the point of order is. So, Councillor Wilson, we couldn't see your from the presentation. So, Councillor Wilson, we can't hear you.
Did you say there's a timer? Oh.
Maybe try unplugging your headset and use the computer speakers.
Now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, because I cannot hear you. I'll just ask one more time. Chair, are you able to hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yes, nice and clear.
Oh, I apologize. I don't know what's happened. I just wanted to raise a point of order. There's been some pretty questionable assertions and allegations being made against a board. That's one point of order, which I don't think is appropriate. The second point of order, we're not sitting as the Hamilton Conservation Authority, so I'm not sure jurisdictionally the presentation concerns this particular governing body. Could you please rule?
Okay, Aaron, she's just wanting an inquiry, and I'm wondering if we could bring this to staff. You could continue, but just watch the wording of your accusations and all that to make sure, and if it continues, maybe we'll report it to staff and you can do
No.
your presentation to staff, okay? So
Okay.
you could continue, but be
No,
careful.
Okay, thank you.
Forgive me, Chair. I've
yeah.
asked for a ruling on the allegations, whether they are appropriate to be made. And secondly, whether this delegation pertains to the Hamilton Conservation Authority, which is outside the direct jurisdiction of this body. This body is the Public Works.
Okay, but it was.
It's about water.
Okay, it is to do with water and our wells, so I would let her continue, and then we could report it back to staff. But please do not make accusation. If it's regarding the water, we'll let you continue.
Okay, thank you. It is regarding the water. So our concerns, the well status is constantly, is in constant jeopardy. Every 7 to 10 years, our water is threatened with closure or decommission. Nothing seems to be making sense. What is happening? Why can't we get clear resolution to restore this water source that aligns with the legal deed conditions and health legislation, especially when no health order has ever been produced as required by law? Oh, something's in the way. The violations and lack of compliance. Public engagement has been silent. A motion was passed September 2024 to prevent public delegations. Now, the board and staff are directing all the public to go to the lawyer through a lawyer since August 2024. No health order has been produced. The medical officer of health for the City of Hamilton has never produced a health order. By law, a health order must precede water source changes. Nothing has been presented. Lack of required signage. Even basic arsenic warnings are not mandated, let alone legally required. FOIA records contradict public statements. And there's been a switch from well number 8 to well number 9 that has been made without public transparency. The financial costs of this select staff is significant. The financial burden caused by the actions of the staff exceed $50,000 just in 2017 alone, possibly over $100,000, possibly even more. Should ratepayers be footing the bill for mismanagement and secrecy? There are unnecessary legal fees, unlawful fencing, pay-to-play swipe system, signage, administrative cost, and potential liability risks continue to add up. What we need from the city, we're asking for a formal inquiry. Help us initiate a formal inquiry that involves the public. Support transparency on decision-making around this vital public water source of Hamilton's. Uphold legal conditions. Work together to uphold the legal conditions on the deed, abide by the health regulations, and restore access. And I would even go as far as to suggest that the HCA, if it's too much trouble for them to keep this on, to transfer this land and water to the Ratepayers Association that's dedicated to honoring a Hamiltonian, Bill Kennedy, his legacy of donating the land for the people in perpetuity without associated fees. Can we find solutions together? Water is life. Let's make sure it's managed with integrity. So what I'm asking is we're seeking answers. We are here because we need answers and we need an inquiry. We believe in the City Council that can help facilitate a fair and open inquiry. Transparency and fairness. Let's ensure this issue is handled lawfully, transparently, and fairly for all stakeholders. We are dedicated to ensuring free public access to the fresh mineral water at Ancaster Wells, which, by the way, has been in existence in the 1700s. We can date it back. So this is why Ancaster was known, and where people came to Ancaster was based on these mineral waters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. And we will refer this to maybe our staff dealing with the water and the well. I'm not on the Hamilton Conservation Authority, so I have no knowledge of these wells. Is there any question to the delegates? You can ask question, sorry. It's for the counselors. We can't. Hamilton Conservation Authority.
Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't realize I missed
Is
that.
there any question by the counselors? I don't see any. Thank you, Aaron, and we'll thank you for your delegation.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, 6.3, Pete Zuzak, respecting a petition to have one of the bike lanes removed on Wimberley Avenue between North Waterdown Drive to Nesbitt Boulevard. He's here in person. Thank you, Pete. You have 5 minutes, and you'll hear the ding of 4 minutes, and then you have an extra minute. Thank you. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening or afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present today to both the chair and the members of the committee, both here virtually on the screen and in present. As was mentioned, the title of the presentation is Petition to Remove the Southwest Bike Lane on Wimberley Avenue, Waterdown, Ontario. My name is Pete Zuzak, and I am a resident in the area of concern. So as far as where is the area, this bike lane we're referring to on the screen, it's a 130-meter section only of bike lane, noted in yellow there. And just for reference, North Waterdown Drive here has no bike lanes. There are no bike lanes on the remainder of Wimberley Avenue. There are no bike lanes on Wimberley. So we're talking about a very small, isolated section of bike lane. And just to look visually at what this looks like here, the bike lanes on the southwest side, on the northwest side here on the photographs. So as far as some details on the petition, we are presenting it to the entire City of Hamilton Council and through this committee. The petition is being brought forward by 13 affected residents of Wimberley Avenue between North Waterdown Drive and Nisbet Boulevard. And I'll read the petition. We, the residents of Wimberley Avenue in Waterdown, respectfully request the bike lanes on the southwest side of Wimberley Avenue be permanently removed to facilitate on-street parking. The next slide is the petition. We've blacked out the names, but every landowner in the affected area has signed the petition. Just a little bit of background and why we're here with our petition today. When the homes in the subject area were first occupied in January 2017, there were no bike lanes on Wimberley Avenue. The residents weren't consulted about the installation of the bike lanes, nor were they informed that they would lose their on-street parking. The bike lane bylaw wasn't enforced until the fall of 2024, when a series of $200 fines were issued to the residents of Wimberley Avenue and our visitors. With the new enforcement protocol, there is no street parking on Wimberley. The residents own multiple vehicles, have children that own vehicles, and visiting family members. The bike lane is only 130 meters in length and doesn't connect to any other bike lanes. There are no bike lanes on Wimberley Avenue between Nisbet Boulevard and Parkside, the photograph in the top right-hand corner, but there are lots of cars parking on the street. There are no bike lanes on Nisbet Boulevard between Wimberley Avenue and Hamilton Street, the photograph on the lower right, but there are lots of cars using it for street parking. The bike lanes are not used by bikes. It is, however, used by the taxpayers of Wimberley Avenue for on-street parking. The petition was signed by all 13 residents that currently have bike lanes in front of their properties. Under our proposal, Should someone want to use a bicycle lane on this 130-meter section of Wimberley Avenue, the existing lane on the northeast side of Wimberley would remain available. To conclude, we, the residents of Wimberley Avenue, respectfully request that the bike lane on the southwest side of Wimberley Avenue be permanently removed to facilitate on-street parking. All 13 residents of the affected area have signed the petition. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Pete, and we'll see if there's any questions from any of the councillors. There is. Yeah, Councillor McMeekin, please.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Appreciate, Pete, you're coming out to speak to us. I am aware of the situation quite intimately, the number of tickets that were handed out. So I strolled over that way and just watched for a while, about 90 minutes. I didn't see any bikes going either way. Do you ever seen a bike go either way?
I never have seen a bike on those lanes, and I think to be clear for council, we're not opposed to bicycles, and you know, we love our natural environment and our air, but it's an isolated 130-meter section of bike lanes that doesn't serve any purpose, and we're asking that one of the sides be removed.
So just building on that, you made the point about it not connecting to any other lane. It's the lane to nowhere. Occasionally, we come across things that just don't connect at all. And I am obliged to say to my council colleagues, this is one of them. The request that you're making, Pete, is in my humble opinion as your councillor entirely in order. If I saw even a single bike there, I might have hesitated. But from talking to neighbors, none of whom have ever seen a bike going either way on the bike lanes, I think your request is entirely reasonable. And I guess my question is, how do we go about procedurally removing a bike lane where it shouldn't be? Maybe that's...
To one of the staff?
Yeah, we have to. Go.
Okay, so we'll do the
So
delegation.
bottom line, I completely concur. I would urge council colleagues to listen carefully to a very reasonable request. Nobody uses the bike lane there. The only people that are paying a price are the $200 tickets that all the neighbors who live there get from parking there. That it was never enforced until one person launched a complaint, as you know, under our bylaw system. If a complaint is lodged, it has to be investigated. And if it's in breach of a bylaw, the fine is applied. And in this case, it's absolutely nonsensical. Thanks. Thanks for coming, Pete.
There's Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you, Delegate Zizek, for coming in and delegating today to Public Works Committee. Could you just confirm the properties that are adjacent to the 130-meter bike lane, do they all have driveways?
Yes, all the properties have driveways.
Can you confirm, do those driveways accommodate a single vehicle or multiple vehicles?
It's a mixture. Some of them accommodate only a single vehicle, and
Yeah.
some accommodate two vehicles.
Two vehicles. And then the image you showed of parking taking place on the opposing side of the street by your neighbors, that street is lined with vehicles. Are those vehicles generally the vehicles of the homes adjacent, or are they the vehicles of homes on both sides of the street that park there?
I don't think I can give you an honest answer for that.
Fair
There
enough.
is street parking on both sides
Yeah.
of both of the connecting arteries,
Yeah.
and people park on both sides,
both
but I
sides.
don't know who owns the cars.
Okay, fair enough. And there's lots of visitors and community members in the neighborhood as well, I'm sure. Last question is, the parking that is available on the residential streets is free?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Those are my questions of the delegate. My questions many for the staff. So
Okay,
after receiving the
why don't-
delegation?
Why don't we receive the delegations and then we'll ask the questions.
Thank
to,
you, Chair.
Staff, because I have a couple as well, so thank you. Okay, so may I please have a mover and a seconder? Councilor McMeekin, Councilor Francis, and we would show hands to receive the delegate. We're going to receive a 6.2 as well, right? All of them. Okay. Everybody? Show of hands? See everyone? Councilor, okay, thank you. All right. Councilor Nan, you want to ask a question to, are you first here?
Chair, before I do, did you want to check if the delegate who wasn't in attendance earlier is
Well, I don't think, is Alex Sears? Alex Sears, respecting HSR issue and garbage collection? Going once? One more time, Alex Sears? I don't see him, so maybe we can reach out to him if he wants to delegate another time. Okay?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So then my question
Okay.
to staff through you would be, if we could get a rundown history on where this 130-meter bike lane came from, where it rests inside of our bike lane plans, and what, if any, connectivity or future investment around connectivity is on the books? Thank you.
Through the chair, Brian Hollingworth, Director of Transportation Planning and Parking. In terms of the history of this bike lane, on the 130-meter portion between North Waterdown Drive and Nesbitt, that was a developer built project, so it conformed to the subdivision designs and our complete streets guidelines, and it was built very, very recently. I don't have the full history on the southerly section, but I do know it was also intended to have a bicycle lane built as part of the development when that subdivision was built, but it didn't happen for reasons unbeknownst to me. It was before my time. In terms of connectivity, I'd say there's several options here, and ideally this bike lane should be connected to other facilities, and there are options to do that. And you had a second question. Oh, is it in the consistent with the transportation plans? It would be consistent with the approved subdivision plans as well as the Waterdown Transportation Master Plan.
Thank you, Director. Councilor Nan.
If I could just slow that down just a second. So approved subdivision plan and the approved Waterdown. If you could just repeat yourself, sorry, Director, I didn't hear it.
Yes, I'll have to double check this, but in 2019, 2020, there was a very focused Waterdown Transportation Master Plan, which looked at everything from traffic calming to active transportation to major facilities, and it would have been reviewed as part of that.
Thank you. I'm just not aware because subdivision planning does not take place in the infill reality of Ward 3. So if you could just explain that piece to me, please, in terms of the developer designed the neighborhood roadway to include bike lanes, and that was approved through the planning process?
Through, yeah, as part of a larger subdivision, like this development, there's different road designs, and the developer proposes the road design, staff reviews those designs, and then those local streets are delivered as part of that development. And that's why this has kind of been phased in with development.
Thank you. And then finally, those approvals would have gone through the planning committee and the appropriate planning process, correct?
At some point, yes.
Thank you. Those are my clarifying questions.
Thank you. Councilor McMeekin, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's my humble opinion, knowing the area as well as I do as a councillor and hearing the complaints from people who don't have to pay to park until they get the $200 ticket for parking there that's never been enforced all these years, except when somebody complained, even though no bikes use the lanes, that it's entirely reasonable to ensure that bike traffic can, given future conductivity, remain, but that one lane be removed. And if and when it's appropriate, I'd move to waive the rules to put a motion to so do.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can I turn the chair to Councillor, Councillor, I don't see him there. Okay, Councillor Kassar, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Pauls. Just a question to Director Hollingworth. It was mentioned a couple times that they haven't seen any bikes. Can you just speak to experience when you have a unconnected network, fragmented network, how that impacts usage, whether it be roads or cycling infrastructure or otherwise? Through you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yes,
Director?
through the chair to Councillor Kassar, I think that one of our principles for cycling network planning is to have a connected network. There's a number of destinations and schools in this area which would be served by this lane, as well as, you know, other potential facilities. There is a facility on a multi-use path on North Waterdown Drive, and, you know, this is a growing new neighborhood, so we'd expect as things are built out and things are more connected, usage should increase. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Second question also to Director Hollingworth through you, Chair Pauls. The suggestion was remove one of the bike lanes, and that if cyclists were to use it, they would use the other remaining bike lane for both directions, I assume. Could you just speak to the feasibility of that? I would see that potentially forcing people to cross the road, go in the wrong direction. Is that something that the city would purposely enable? Thank you.
Director?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a safety question, so I'll defer to Carolyn Ryle.
Okay. Director?
Good afternoon, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. So thank you, Councillor, for the question. So one of the options, or at least the discussion staff were having in the background, was the safety element, appreciating that this is a newer subdivision and that this is a small portion of a bike lane. The intent, obviously, in future would be to extend this to other portions to marry up with Parkside that has a bike lane, to my understanding, as well as North Waterdown. And then on Nisbet, which is at the roundabout where this part of the bike lane truncates, there is, like Director Hollingworth mentioned, a YMCA, a high school, and an elementary school. So typically, what we would recommend in an instance like this is, with the wide platform, speeding is a major concern that we hear a lot about, and obviously trying to make the road safe for different modes with the intent that, we are promoting active transportation and safe modes to, again, those amenities on Nisbet. Our preference would be to take this away and see what we could do with the wide platform from an AT perspective and a road safety perspective. And, if parking is something that the community there is looking forward to see how it can be incorporated, again, with the AT lens, assisting all multi-modes.
Thank you. Councillor Kassar?
Thank you. And just for those listening, Director Ryle, AT being active transportation, just to make sure those who aren't familiar with the term. I appreciate that answer, and I just think it's important to have that perspective on the longer term vision. And of course, yes, we're trying to deal with things in the moment, but also look to what's being planned and what the benefits are in the long term. Thank you, Chair Pauls. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Francis, would you take the chair, please?
Go ahead.
The delegate mentioned that they had a petition, and I was wondering, do we ever use a petition to put a bike lane? To put a bike lane in?
Through the chair, in all considerations, we take into account a lot of input, look at evaluation alternatives, but we don't have a petition type process for bike lanes. And also one of the reasons is bike lanes aren't just used by the people on one block, they're used by the entire community.
Thank you, and through the chair, were they notified, the people there, the 100 meter, or whatever it is, that there was going to be a bike lane and some of their concerns?
Through the chair, I don't know the sequencing of the build out of this road, but there is a chance that the residents weren't there when this road was built, but the residents would know that better than me. But it's a newly built road, right? So
It's newly built, so they had no idea there was going to be a bike lane there when,
it would have been in the subdivision plan that they could have
Okay.
looked at.
thank you. Last question. Is this the first time we had a delegate come and say they want a bike lane removed because of parking?
I don't think so. I can remember at least one other example. There's probably been more.
Okay, thank you. The reason I ask, I had a few calls from one of the streets in Ancaster that people can't find parking. They have visitors, they don't know where to park, they have to ask their neighbor, and it's a very short, and I said, well, call your counselor because it's not my area, but I just wanted to know if there were other complaints about the parking issue with bike lanes. Thank you. I'll take the chair back. And I think, Councillor McMeekin, you have a motion? Or a notice of motion, or?
I'd like to, I guess, waive the rules to introduce a motion.
Yes, we're going to have, we don't need to waive them because
Okay.
it's right.
Well,
Okay, go
my
ahead.
motion, seconded by Councillor Spatafor, is we ask the staff to review the situation of the two bike lanes and to advise us as to why one of the bike lanes should not be removed, given the petition of the residents there. Let me just, that's the motion.
Thank you.
Let me just speak to it. Very, very briefly,
Sorry,
I'm,
point of order, Chair?
Okay, who's calling the point of order? I can't see. Oh, Councillor Danko, please.
I don't believe it's in order to have a motion come out of a delegation because there is no item for debate on the agenda and besides the delegation, and I don't believe that's a discussion item that's sufficient enough to have a debate on a motion.
Okay, do you think we could just refer to staff?
Whatever
And
you-
they come up with a,
whatever you think is best, Chair, is fine with
okay.
me.
Why don't we refer the whole situation to staff, and they could come with a report about this incident?
Absolutely. I'm not for breaking rules or denigrating bike lanes.
And
In
I'm
fact,
not for breaking rules either, so.
Bike lane is completely adequate on this street, particularly given no bikes use it.
Okay, I think Councillor Francis, did you want to be on the speakers list?
I do, but I just wanted procedural guidance before I comment.
Okay.
Or just want to know where we're at.
Okay, clerk.
The report back is coming as a result of the agenda item, and so I think it'd be appropriate to introduce the motion at this time.
It is appropriate? Okay. So it is appropriate. So can we have the motion on the screen, please? Okay. I think, okay. So it says that the staff be directed to review and report back to Public Works Committee on the potential removal of one bike lane on Wimberley Avenue by Q 2025. Is there any, do you want, Councilor Francis?
Yeah, if I could just speak to this.
Sure.
I mean, I'm going to support the mover and seconder. I think, you know, I always support the ward councilors, but I would prefer the motion just said remove the bike lane altogether, because if that's the will of the community, I don't think that staff are going to come back with a report that's contrary to, or that's going to advise us to remove the bike lane. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get to a place anyways that just says, you know, that a counselor is going to have to bring that forward to remove it. I'm fully in support of removing a bike lane that the community doesn't want. So, and I intend to actually bring a motion to the budget on Friday to remove some bike lanes. So happy to move that if the mover wants to do that instead.
This is, yes, it's up to Councilor McMeekin.
Well, there was a procedural point raised about an inability to do that, and so you should probably chair rule on that. I'm entirely sympathetic to the potential amendment, I'd like to see that bike lane removed. I think I made that very clear, and then as the neighbors, I made it very clear.
All right. Clerk? Do you, okay, so I think I see Counselor, it's not on the screen here, Counselor Wilson.
Did you just state my name was not on the screen? Because it's on my screen.
It's on now. It
Yeah,
wasn't before.
Thank you, Chair. In the series of questions to staff from some of my colleagues, I believe I heard from Director Rael in her expert opinion that it might be preferable or preferred professionally to look at this item from a more wholesome framework. Ironically, when I'm hearing a critique that this is just a small snippet, but then you're wanting to remove a small snippet without the larger neighborhood connectivity, which seems to be contrary to the actual argument. So I'm wondering if I could request to the mover to follow the route as suggested by what I thought I heard from Director Rael, was to look at options with a safety view in mind of where future connectivity is to be extended to make sure we do not forego any future linkage opportunities. And I believe Director Rael also mentioned a wide platform and also community concerns about speeding. So I think there's a lot of contextual lenses which might satisfy perhaps the neighborhood, because as we've heard, the neighborhood extends beyond just these few houses, as do most vehicular users, but extend beyond these few houses. So if I could ask the mover to consider that context, please, and thank you.
Okay,
I'd like to
thank
hear
you,
from the
Councillor
mover.
Wilson. Councillor McMeekin, what would you like your motion to be? And we could vote on it.
I put a very generic motion, just asking the staff a very simple question. Is there something broken here that needs fixing?
Okay, so then we do need a report back,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So what Councillor?
That's implied in the motion that I made.
Okay, so we will then have a report back. Okay, so first of all, Councillor Kretsch, please. We're going to, is regarding the motion? Councillor Kretsch?
Yeah, it's regarding the motion.
Okay,
Just very briefly, just wanted to say, happy for staff to review these kinds of things. I'm with Councillor Danko in terms of how we're doing this is kind of weird. If we want to refer a delegation to staff to report back on, I think that's probably a way to do that. But so many people have spoken now that a motion to refer would probably be difficult to achieve, as there are probably not a lot of non-first-time speakers. But I think it's important for us to have staff review this in more detail. What I heard from Director Hollingworth was pretty clearly, look, I don't have all the information in front of me about exactly what the history is, why this is here, how it connects everywhere else, and again, what Director Ryle was saying in terms of safety and other kinds of things. One of the important parts about these types of bike lanes is often that we're trying to achieve network connectivity on a wider scale. And so if I look at wards 1, 2, and 3, where I cycle around the most, there are weird places sometimes where there's bike lane, but it's part of a phased plan, for instance, right? We're putting this piece of bike lane here for now. There's one at an adjoining street, and we have other kinds of measures here that create some connectivity for cyclists. So I don't simply have enough information today to say that I understand how this is going to work holistically across the city. So I think it's important that we get this information from staff and hear from them.
okay, thank you. I think Councillor McMeekin is willing to let staff report back. Okay, so that's what we'll do. Councillor Nan, you cannot. Okay, it's okay. Please, out of order, please. Sorry. Okay, thank you. All right, so Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of the Planning Committee being able to move forward with the direction which I've heard considerable dialogue around, to the mover, respecting your motion and clarifying one last time that your motion includes an expectation from you as the mover and your seconder that the report back will include information and options that address the roadway safety, as well as the context of the request from the community inside of safe, active transportation that spans beyond the one block and is in consideration of the YWCA and the high school as well. Councillor McMeekin, if that's all implied in your motion, I just need to hear that really clearly.
It's all implied.
So that it could be clear for
Absolutely.
staff about what they're going to be reporting back on, and I can support your motion.
Okay, how about this? Let's see the motion again and making sure it states the intent to report back with all those inquiries, okay? Put the motion back up. Make sure everybody's satisfied with the motion. That the staff be directed to review and report back to Public Works Committee on the potential removal of one bike lane on Wimberley Avenue by Q 2025. Do you want to put a sort of like a date? The second public? Okay.
Chair, if I could, I believe I still have the floor.
Okay,
And if I could just clarify, because the direction is specific in the motion, and the mover of the motion has stated confirmation that it will include information such as those that Director Rael and Director Hollingworth mentioned, which include roadway safety and the larger context of active transportation plans for the area.
okay, so it's being typed. Okay, include information, roadway safety, and the larger context of active transportation plans for the area. Is that satisfactory?
And if that's a friendly to be integrated in, then that's fantastic. I think we can.
Councillor McMeekin, since it's your motion.
It's helpful, and everything Councillor Nan states is invariably helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so which quarter would you like? Second quarter? No, second meeting, right? Do we, okay, second quarter.
Second quarter's fine. This won't be able to park on the street until then and get tickets.
Okay? Everybody agree with that? Seconder, you're okay with that? Move, the mover? Good.
I'm on the
Okay.
speakers list, please.
Okay, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. May I ask for the motion to be put on the screen, please, as revised?
It was, but can you
Yes,
put it back
I
on?
know that, but
Carrie, back. Are you going to put it back on the screen, Carrie? Thank you. Okay.
thank you. Through the chair, the challenge, I really appreciate Councillor McMeekin's willingness to entertain the broader context and that the due diligence be done. The challenge I'm still having is there's a direction explicitly stated in the motion. So the conclusion or the recommendation seems to already been brought. So I'm trying to understand if we're looking for the implications on roadway safety, where this sits in the active transportation plans, yet the conclusion is already implied. I think there's a friction there, and I'm wondering if there could be further amendment in recognition of, in my opinion, the friction. Thank you to the mover.
Okay, Councillor McMeekin.
I don't agree there's a friction there. I think the friction I'm sensing is that any response that doesn't acknowledge the specific request of the residents is a friction. That's why I included it in the motion. It doesn't preclude the staff coming back and saying they and I and anybody who supports the motions, not all there. But I think the motion stands on its own, and it reflects the, with integrity, I want to suggest, not that I'm questioning anybody's reasoning here, but it reflects the integrity of the request before us. So I think the motion should stay the way it is.
Okay, Director Carol Ryle, what do you think of the motion? Do you understand the direction?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not asking the staff. I'm asking the mover, Chair, and I still have the floor.
Okay, and the mover said he doesn't think it implies.
Yes,
So-
I understood that.
Okay,
Thank you, and I still have the floor.
okay. Well,
Thank you. So if the motion to the mover referenced in the motion is safety and the transportation plan future, if it's found that its removal could upset safety, then that, for me, that is where the tension is. It's giving a recommendation while also asking for a broader analysis. So in the absence of a slight jigging, I'm just finding it hard to reconcile that tension. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor McMeekin thinks it's fine, the motion, so we're going to call the vote. Oh, Councillor Danko.
Thank you. I'm going to be voting opposed, not because I'm opposed to the direction, but because I think a practice of walk-on motions coming out of a delegation will lead to, or have potentially lead to, some very negative unintended consequences if we adapt this as a practice. You know the delegation was coming, have your motion in advance, have it on the agenda in advance so that we all know what it is and staff can be prepared. A walk-on motion out of a delegation is completely inappropriate, even if technically it is within the procedural rules of order.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anyone else, so we're going to vote on the motion, please. Oh, it's show of hands, everyone? That, show of hands to refer back to the staff, so. Okay, so legislative, Carrie, we, vote? Okay, so we're going to vote on it. Electronic vote, please. And this is referred back for more information. And it is passed, I don't have my glasses. Okay, 9-5. Thank you. Okay, so we did the vote to receive the delegation. Okay, item 9, thank you. 9.1, Truck Route Subcommittee Minutes. You want to move it? Councillor Nan, Councillor Francis, thank you. Electronic vote, please. Oh, Councillor Jackson. Well, it was so quick. Okay, I don't see, now I see it. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chair Pauls, and good afternoon. I just want to make some comments. This is about the Truck Route Subcommittee. I just want to regurgitate for public consumption. I'm very pleased for the lower city councillors, the obvious revised truck route master plan that has been enormously successful to redirect 18-wheelers and over 5-axle trucks away from neighborhoods in the downtown to make them safer and to make travel as well much safer. And I was proud towards the end of last term of council and into this term, Chair Pauls, to do my part, to hear the plea of my of downtown councillors from wards 1 to 4 primarily, and to support them. And so I think the statistics are showing, and the data, that it has been successful in redirecting something like, I think was 60, 70, 80% of what used to be heavy trucks in the lower city using the ring road of the Red Hill Valley Parkway, the Link, the 403, and the QEW. And so I'm just going to, as I did at the subcommittee, Chair Pauls, I'm just going to, every time there's an opportunity, just to put my oar in the water as a strong supporter for the expansion of the Red Hill Valley Parkway and the Link to eventually 6 lanes that they were proposed for, since the mountain community and other parts of the city have accommodated the additional heavy truck traffic to make the downtown community and all the wards there safer and the neighborhoods safer. The accommodation has been done. The master plan has proven to be successful, with more data to come from police enforcement as to the type of trucks that are using the ring roads and what further is happening. But I'm telling you that obviously with additional truck traffic on the Link and the Red Hill Valley Parkway, it has provided at times, especially during rush hour, congestion. And for the general motoring public, vehicles that are normal size, with everyday families that have their SUV, their Sunbirds, Hondas, whatever they may have normally versus heavy trucks, the time is coming when the expansion of the Red Hill and the Link will be absolutely paramount and necessary, and of course working in conjunction with the province and fixing the pinch points at the 403 and the QEW. I'm going to restate this opinion time and time again, because it's not a quid pro quo, but it's something that obviously was going to impact the ring roads of the transportation corridor in our city, primarily Link and Red Hill, and the time will come where to continue the accommodation and keep heavy trucks from going back to the lower city, we'll need to expand those 2 transportation corridors. Thank you for your indulgence, Chair Pauls.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Electronic vote, please.
Chair, I was on the speakers
Councillor
list.
Cassar.
Thank you. Just a little bit of information for benefit of all committee members who aren't on the truck subroute committee. On page 2, I just wanted to speak to an amendment that I had moved and Councillor Cretchit seconded. Just draw attention to, for committee members and the public, it was successfully moved to direct staff to report back with a public-facing dashboard. There was a lot of information in the report. There's a lot of work being done, but it's not really synthesized in a way that's easily digestible. And to be able to tell how well we're doing with the actions underway. So you can see the items under there are to report back with clear communication of the objectives and the benefits over time, so we can see how things are going. And then if we are not hitting objectives, to report back on the gap between the results and objectives. So just wanted to draw some eyes to that and make sure everyone was aware. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. E-vote, please. Who wants thumbs up? Okay. Councillor Patterson, please. Who else? If you can't vote, put your thumb up, please. And it passes 14-0. Thank you. 9.2, amendments to the outstanding business list. Is there any discussions? Okay, we will need electronic vote to approve the amendment. Councillor Wang, Councillor Francis, thank you.
Sorry, Chair, I'm trying to indicate it's on the speaker's list and not able to do so for some reasons on this item. I want to speak to one of these items, please.
All right. Yeah, your name was not on. Okay, Councillor
No, I
Craig.
tried to indicate. It's on to item B, and there was a motion put forward with respect to the service level change for hanging basket program, and that was somewhat dependent upon the change in weather, which I think, if I recall correctly, which is why it was asked to come back in Q2 2025. So I wanted to ask staff about whether or not they saw this having an impact on their ability to report in advance, just getting really close to the spring if it's going to be in Q3 2025 and that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if that's going to have an impact on being able to actually get an answer.
GM?
Through the chair to the Councillor Carl Alcan, General Manager of Public Works. Staff have informed me, and I concur with it, that we're going to do our review in 2025 and report back where any changes to the program will be reflected in 2026.
Thank you, GM. Is that
Thank you.
satisfactory? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's do vote, please. E-vote. Councillor Spud, oh, he's gone. Okay, and it passes 13-0. Thank you. Okay, number 10, we are into motions now. 10.1, road rehabilitation on Aberdeen Avenue, Bullen Avenue, Canada Street, Glenford Avenue, Homewood Avenue, Hunter Street West, Jackson Street West, and South Street, Hamilton. That's in Ward 1. Councillor Wilson, would you please introduce your motion, and who is your seconder?
It's moved by myself. It's seconded by Councillor Tammy Wang. You've read out all the streets. Therefore, be it resolved that Public Works be authorized and directed to rehabilitate those roads. B, that all costs associated with the road resurfacing scope of work be completed by engineering services. The funding reserve number from Ward 1 is referenced, including the amount not to exceed 2.11 million, with design anticipated to commence this year, construction next year. The list of streets is offered. If I have to read out C, D, and E, I will do so, but it is just referencing the specific Ward 1 expenditure envelopes from which all of this work is being exercised. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't think you need to, so can we vote? Have a e-vote, please? And it's moved by Councillor Wang. Thank you. Seconded. And it passes 13-0. Thank you. 10.2, road rehabilitation on Benson Avenue, Cannon Street East, and Hope Avenue, Hamilton. That's Ward 4. Councillor Wayne, would you introduce your motion, and who's your seconder?
Thank you. My seconder will be Councillor Maureen Wilson. And just as you've already read out, that it will be Benson Avenue, Cannon Street East, and Hope Avenue, all in Ward 4. They are in need of road rehabilitation to extend the life of these roadways and improve service levels and reduce maintenance costs. Therefore, be it resolved that Public Works staff be authorized and directed to rehabilitate the roads associated with concrete works as required on the following streets, that all costs associated with the road resurfacing work be funded by the Ward 4 Capital Reinvestment Reserve, as well as the Ward 4 Minor Maintenance Account, and that the General Manager and City Clerk be authorized to execute any required agreements and ancillary documents with such terms and conditions in a form satisfactory to the City Solicitor.
Thank you, Councillor Wang, and second and moved. Councillor Wilson, seconded. Thank you. E-vote, please. Thank you. Okay, passes 13-0. Thank you. 10.3, road reconstruction and rehabilitation, water main installation, concrete works, traffic signal and street lighting, multi-use path on Concession Street and Mountain Brow Boulevard in Hamilton, Ward 6. Councillor Jackson, would you like to introduce your motion, and who is your seconder?
Chair Pauls, I would. Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by the Ward 5 Councillor, Matt Francis. Whereas within the contract for the road reconstruction rehab, water main installation, concrete works, traffic signal and street lighting, and multi-use path on Concession Mount Brow Boulevard, there is a provision for the installation of a wood noise attenuation fence, noise wall, around the traffic circle on Mount Brow Boulevard at the top of the Kenilworth access. And whereas an upgrade has been requested to the noise attenuation fence from wood to a Duracell type or approved equivalent noise attenuation fence and wall for improved appearance and also improved longevity. Therefore, be it resolved A, Public Works staff be authorized, directed to coordinate with the contractor to upgrade and install the Duracell type or approved equivalent noise attenuation fence wall rather than the wood noise attenuation fence as outlined in the contract. B, that all costs associated with the upgrade to the noise attenuation fence be funded from my Ward 6 Capital Reinvestment Reserve Fund, number noted, at an upset limit including contingency not to exceed $550,000, with construction to be completed this year. C, GM Can's City Clerk Trenham be authorized, directed, execute any required agreements with ancillary documents, such terms and conditions satisfactory to City Solicitor Shields. If I might, Chair Pauls, this has been a project, part of Phase 2 of Mountain Brow Boulevard concession with the new multi-use pathway extension and the rehabilitation of the road. Been part of my work closely with the East Mountain Citizens Committee chaired by Kate Fraser and her 25-member committee for about 10 years now, from Phase 1, 7 years ago that was open, to now Phase 2 under construction. And the community, with lots of community meetings, thousands of letters sent out, consultation, working with staff. And I must say, in terms of staff, from engineering design, I've got to give credit to Senior Project Manager Mitchell Knott and Manager Susan Jacob, and from Construction Manager Ed English and Director Kennedy's group, and of course, LC Kerry McIntosh, always helping me with the language of the motion. I just want to give them credit. This is something that is part of the legacy project I'm so very, very, very proud of on the East Mountain, First Street in Hamilton, residential street with solar panels as well. This is part of the enhancement of that project around the circle. Instead of just having a plain wooden fence, that the community wanted something special around the circle for both longevity purposes and greater aesthetics. And this is before my committee colleagues, with no impact whatsoever to their ward budgets, all out of the Ward 6 Capital Reinvestment Fund. Thank you, Chair Pauls.
Thank you. And I wasn't rushing you. You could have taken your time. Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Wang.
As many know, I am a Ward 6 resident for the most part, and I do want to say that that enhancement to Kenilworth access has been lovely. My sister who goes to Juravinski, works at Juravinski, has also found that it is a lot more clearer navigating those hairpin turns. As well, we have 17-year-old drivers that are also learning how to navigate those turns, and so it has been really lovely to see that change. Just my question to, perhaps starting with Councillor Jackson, but ultimately to engineering services, understanding the wood noise attenuation fence, as already noted, there is already a wooden fence there, so it would just be like the same size and height of that existing fence, or is that going to be a bigger fence, or what does that look like?
Okay, Councillor Jackson, would you like to answer that or start?
Please.
Okay,
Thank you, Councillor Huang. Thank you for your kind words, by the way, on the overall reconstruction and rehabilitation and reconfiguration of the Brow and all the work going on primarily to accommodate the new extended multi-use pathway. There is no existing city fence there at this time. All you'll see are 2 or 3 backyard fences that are privately owned. So this isn't on top of any existing city fence, and or is it replacing any existing city wooden fence? This would be a brand new noise attenuation stamped type of concrete Duracell wall, but if there's anything that I'm inaccurate on, I'll let Director Kennedy provide further comment. Thank you, Councillor Huang.
Director Kennedy, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Jackie Kennedy, Director of Engineering Services. Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Wang. This is an upgrade. So the standards and requirements of the contract required a wooden fence that would meet those standards. Working closely with Councillor Jackson on what he envisions here with the community's input. This is an upgrade, so it's not, the costs that you're seeing here are for that difference from what we would have installed as part of the base scope to this, this upgrade to the Durasol materials. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
And it will be the same size, sorry, it is the same size.
As the backyard fence currently, so it would just sit in front of those backyard fences?
Sorry, it's a different function than the backyard fence that are property fences. The wooden wall was to be for noise attenuation around the traffic circle. So this performs the same function with a different look and materials.
Okay.
I think Councillor Jackson would like to add some more.
May I please,
info.
Councillor Huang?
Yes.
Through you, Chair Pauls, to Councillor Huang. So again, just to be crystal clear, the privacy backyard fences are on private property. There is an open swath of public land that encompasses the circle from one end to the other. This 8-foot approximate Duracell wall, if approved, would encompass the entire circle on the city open swath of land. It really has nothing to do with the existing privacy fences that are on private property that people have built over the years to give themselves a little privacy with their backyards for all the noise, et cetera, and traffic speeding around the circle.
Thank you for the
Chair Pauls.
clarification, and you know your ward very well, Councillor. So great. Any other questions?
May I have a follow-up?
Sure, of course.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful. I think that I would like to understand, and I think that it will be further conversation offline, but I wanted to just ask, will this now be standard practice? So as we are doing a lot more of those sort of roundabouts or like roadways, will there now be an option for upgrades to add these noise attenuation walls to designs moving forward?
Is that to Director Jackie Kennedy?
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to take that question. So if a noise attenuation wall is required because of noise and the situation, then that would be included as part of the design work and the base scope. If there are upgrades that are beyond what would be recommended as part of a standard, I think we can work with the councillor on those on a case-by-case basis, similar to this approach. So this trying to balance the achievement of getting the work done using the according to standards with the tax base, and then if there's some customization needed to work with the local councillor on how to achieve those desired additional improvements.
Thank you. Councillor Wang?
I thank Councillor Jackson for this leadership, because now it gives me a little bit of a blueprint and a little bit of a roadmap. So as we see new traffic coming or road projects coming into the ward, I now know I have an opportunity to ask for more if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will vote. Electric vote, please. We have the mover and the seconder. Okay, we are 13-0. Thank you. We'll move on to 10.4. Councillor Cretch, would you like to introduce your motion? And do you have a seconder, please?
Yeah, I'd love to. And my seconder is Councillor Taddison. I am introducing this motion today because I'm asking for more consultation to be done with respect to the places where the signage is for the truck route as it outlines there. And so what staff said is that they didn't really have planned consultation, and I asked them, well, what do you think? And they said, yeah, there are some confusing areas with respect to where the signs are. If you drive on a route, which I've done, I've taken the truck route all around where it exists now with some community members, and some of the signs just don't make intuitive sense. I know Councillor Taddison has done the same thing in his ward, where there are signs that say, hey, there's no truck route here, but then 250 meters down the road one starts and there's not a sign for it. These kinds of things are pretty common, because what we did, according to staff, was we applied the methodology of the truck route master plan, put the signs into place, and there's a chance to review some of that. So doing a bit of community consultation to hear from folks who have done some of this work on the ground would be beneficial. I'd be interested in hearing from staff if they could just outline that community consultation in more detail, because I relied on them for the wording of this motion, but I recognize that it could very well mirror exactly what we did the first time around. But I wonder if Director Hollingworth could speak to what he sees that community consultation looking like exactly, so people have a clear sense of what that is.
Okay, so Director?
I think I'll pass this one to Director Rael.
Okay, Director Rael, please.
Through the Chair, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. So thank you, Councillor, for the question. That was one of the takeaways that between transportation and planning and parking that we were going to take away and put together an outline of what that engagement would look like. First step would be meeting with the larger comms group, the City of Hamilton, to put together a plan, which we then would come back to and review on how we would be taking this back to the community. And we'd be working with your office on those next steps.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Cratch.
Okay, thanks for unpacking the process and what it looks like. It seems like it's going to be a multi-step process, and hopefully other councillors will get involved in that as well, especially where there are places where truck route signage is of a concern. So I'm assuming that we'll all get a message about that and everyone can participate as they're able to.
Thank you. And there's no other discussion, nobody on the speakers list, so let's vote, please. Electric vote. Electronic, there we go. And it's 12-0. Okay, 10.5, accessible washroom upgrades at Churchill Park Fieldhouse, 199 Glen Road, Hamilton, Ward 1. Councillor Maureen Wilson, would you like to introduce your motion, and who is your seconder, please?
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Tammy Wang. This is part of Ward 1's intentional strategy to use existing public assets, which have regrettably fallen into serious repair. But in existing older communities, they're absolutely fundamental to community to update those assets and to include winterized, so all season, all gender universal washrooms. This one is in Churchill Park in the Westdale neighborhood. So the renovation will be for an accessible washroom upgrade, life cycle repairs, and the building structural improvements at Churchill Park Fieldhouse. It will be funded from the Ward 1 Capital Reinvestment Reserve, 108051, up to including a contingency not to exceed $610,000. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I don't see anybody on the speakers list, so let's go straight to the vote. Thank you. And it carries 13-0. Thank you. All right, 10.6, road rehabilitation on Albion Falls Boulevard, Beston Drive, Corinthian Drive, Lockheed Drive, Markson Crescent, Morningstar Court, Lecondor Drive, North Star Court, and Paris Avenue, Hamilton, Ward 6. Councillor Jackson, would you like to introduce your motion?
Chair Pauls, I would again. Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by the Ward 11 Councillor Mark Tattison. Whereas Albion Falls Boulevard, Beston Drive, Corinthian Drive, Lockheed Drive, Markson Crescent, Morningstar Court, Loconder Drive, North Star Court, Paris Avenue, all in my ward, are in need of road rehab to extend the life of these roadways, therefore improve service levels, reduce maintenance costs, therefore be resolved A. Public Works staff be authorized, directed to rehab the road and associate concrete works as required on all the roads I just mentioned, as you did. B, that all costs associated with the road resurfacing scope of work be funded from my Ward 6 Capital Reinvestment Reserve Fund, the number listed, at the amount of $2.130 million, and the Ward 6 Capital Discretionary Account, number noted, to the tune of $60,000, and the Ward 6 Minor Maintenance Account, number noted, upwards of $100,000, all at an upset limit, including contingency, not to exceed a grand total of $2,290,000, with design anticipated to commence in 25, construction to be completed in 26 for the following roads, all listed there again. And C part, that general manager can, city clerk Trenton be authorized, directed, execute any required agreements, ancillary documents, which such terms and conditions satisfactory to city solicitor Shields. I just want to again thank Manager Sharma and Senior Project Manager Greg Wiseman and Director Kennedy under her leadership within the department for all their valuable input and support and guidance. All my neighborhood associations have had input on these various roads, accommodating and crossing over about 3 different neighborhoods. And financial coordinator Irfan Tanvir in the finance department. And as always, finally, legislative coordinator Carrie McIntosh, who ensures the language in my motions is as perfect as it possibly can be. Seconded again by Councillor Tattison. Looking for your support. Thanks, Chair Pauls.
Thank you. And is there any discussion on the matter? I don't see any, so let's go straight to the vote, please. And it passes 13-0. Thank you. Okay, last one, 10.8, Glen Castle Park improvements. Oh, sorry, where am I? Okay, Lisgar, 10.7. All right, Councillor Jackson, I'm so sorry. Can I read it again for you? 10.7, Lisgar Park improvements, 95 Carson Drive, Hamilton, Ward 6. Councillor Jackson, will you please introduce your motion?
For the very last time today, I will, Chair Pauls. Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Ward 10 Councillor Jeffrey Beattie. Whereas Lisgar Park on 95 Carson Drive currently has a single basketball court available for community recreation, and whereas community feedback from residents has been received by my office requesting that this existing court be updated to a multi-use court with the addition of built-in hockey net infrastructure, therefore be resolved A, that the addition of the fencing around the court at Lisgar Park be funded from the Ward 6 Capital Reinvestment Reserve number noted at an upset limit not to exceed with contingency $60,000, and B, that General Manager can of Public Works or designate be authorized, directed to approve, execute any and all required agreements and ancillary documents such as and conditional and satisfactory to City Solicitor Shields. Just to conclude, Chair Pauls, I want to thank Parks Manager Bunn and my community led by Craig Buckingham and the Lisgar Park Committee and Association, who for the last 2 or 3 years have advocated to convert and repurpose the existing basketball court to allow additional play such as ball hockey and other sports within the park. Happy to support this. And again, thank you, LC Carrie McIntosh, for your support and help on the language. Seconded by Councillor Beattie. Thanks, Chair Pauls. And I promise that's it for today.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, and sorry for missing it. Okay, we'll go for any discussion first. I don't see anybody on the speakers list, so let's go for the e-vote, please. And it's 13-0. Thank you. Okay, 10.8, Glen Castle Park improvements, 30 Glen Castle Drive, Hamilton, Ward 5. Councillor Francis, would you like to introduce your motion? And do you have a seconder?
Yes, thank you, Chair Pauls. Let's move by myself, second by Ward 6 Councillor Tom Jackson. Glen Castle Park improvements, 30 Glen Castle Drive, Hamilton, and Ward 5. Whereas the play structures at Glen Castle Park have become worn out and are in need of replacement, and whereas these community amenities are valuable recreational opportunities for children, youth, and families within the Red Hill neighborhood and the greater Ward 5 community, therefore be it resolved, A, that the replacement of the existing play structures at Glen Castle Park be funded from the Ward 5 Capital Reinvestment Reserve number 108055 at an upset limit, including contingency not to exceed $250,000, be approved, and B, that the general manager of Public Works be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all required agreements and ancillary documents in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor.
Thank you. And is there any questions or concerns? I don't see it. Oh, Councillor Wang, you're not on the list, but go ahead.
Sorry, last minute addition.
Okay.
Just a question to the mover. What is your expectation in terms of replacement of the existing? So are you doing like for like, or are you going to do like a little like accessible playground, or that's my question.
Thank you. This would just be a like-for-like replacement. I guess there would be options through the cities, and I'd pass it over to staff, but I guess there'd be options through the cities. Forgetting the name of it off the top of my head here. The Engage Hamilton process. And I would actually turn to staff to ask when the timeline of that would be as well.
Okay.
While we're asking that.
Who will respond to that, please?
Through the chair, Kara Bunn, Manager of Parks and Cemeteries. Yes, we can do that engagement this year and do a Play Your Way survey, as you've discussed.
Thank you. Those were all my questions.
I didn't recognize you there, Kara. Thank you. All right.
Sorry, could I?
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Francis.
Yeah, sorry, through you, Chair. Just a question that was triggered as a result of the answer back from staff there, and I appreciate it. Just wanted to know, will my office be informed? This is the first playground that I've brought forward. I just want to know if my office will be informed of when that Engage Hamilton survey will go out so I can inform my residents directly.
Director Bunn.
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. Before we do any launch of a survey, we will let your office know so that you can share that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I don't see anyone else. All right. Okay.
Apologies, sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, my apologies, another.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Francis, your motion, so.
Yes, sorry. I realize after reviewing this, originally the discussion when I sent it out to staff was to have the swing structures to also be replaced like for like. Just wanted to make sure that that was captured in this, or if I needed to amend this. I know this came back from staff as is. Just wanted to clarify that. I apologize. I should have done that in advance.
Director Bunn?
Through the chair, it would mean possibly a smaller play structure. If you want to stay with the current pricing, this price did not include replacing the swings.
Are you okay with that, or you're going to
And
change?
what would through you, Chair, what would the price be of additional for the swing set approximately?
Well,
Through the chair, I'd have to get back to you on that, but I'm going to guess at around $50,000 as an upset.
Okay, thank you. I'll look to bring a future motion on that. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other speakers. Let's go for a vote, please. It carries 13-0. Thank you. And number 12, everybody's been waiting for adjournment. Can I have no need to vote on that. So, okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you. Have a great this afternoon.